Welcome to my bedroom. I am procrastinating finishing the back or the 100 days, 100 blocks challenge because I have to make a piece back because I didn't buy enough fabric. And I didn't want to go buy more because I have scraps. I like the look of a piece back, but I'm just avoiding it. So anyway, I'm going to do a whip parade because I've got too many whips, and I'm trying to kind of guilt myself into finishing some of them by showing you all. And also, this quilt that's on here right now, this whole cloth quilt, is actually the back of the first quilt that I long-armed by myself. And at the time, I was not able to buy expensive fabric or more luxurious fabric for the back, so I just bought some white muslin or cream muslin and quilted the front of it, and it looks like a whole cloth quilt, which I think is fun. So I've turned it over, and this is what the front looks like, but I've turned it over to be used as a neutral backdrop for my whip parade. I keep most of my whips in these plastic shoe boxes that you can buy at Walmart for I don't know, 20 bucks for 6 or something like that. And I've got too many of them because I've got too many whips. And the first, I'm not going to do them in any particular order, but I am going to try to put them in chronological order from oldest to newest. So it's not going to be perfect, but it will be as close to perfect as I can. Anyway, so this first whip that I'm going to show you is the Make-A-Wish charity quilt that the Fat Quarter Shop puts on from 2017. And I saw my original long armor doing this in her studio and fell in love with it because I really love old-fashioned, traditional quilt blocks with more modern fabrics. So I just fell in love with it and asked her where she got it. And basically what you do for this Make-A-Wish challenge is you make a donation to Make-A-Wish, and then the Fat Quarter Shop will send you the pattern. Anyway, so here's the little, and this is a pattern. This is one of 13 blocks that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to do my best to cover up the dimensions, but if I'm not perfect, it's only one block, so I'm hoping that's okay. Anyway, so here is this is block number 12, and it says, you're supposed to make 5 blocks for this particular type of block for the quilt that they wanted. Or 6 blocks, excuse me. And I decided, because I'm extra, that I really liked the entire Fat Quarter bundle that I bought, and so I was going to make 1 block of each of the colors in the Fat Quarter bundle. And here's the example of that. One of the examples of that block that I made based on the pattern that I just showed you. Anyway, so they are pretty small blocks, but I have a crap ton of them, so it's going to be a pretty big quilt. And I have, basically all I need to do is add sashing and cornerstones, and I have the sashing, and it is one of the chambrays by Tulip quilts. It's so pretty. It's the color sand, and it's kind of like a pinky purple without being just in your face, which I like, because I want the star of the show to be the piecing and the fabrics I chose, but I also wanted to add a little bit more purple to the mix without it fighting. And I thought about a gray because the background fabric has a gray dot in it, but then I was afraid that it would kind of muddle it. So anyway, so I have the fabric for the sashing, and I have the cornerstones because I'm basically just using scraps from the, so all I just need to do is do it. But there are 10,000 blocks because I'm extra, right? Because I'm crazy. And I don't like following a pattern even, and so I didn't just do the amount of blocks that they suggested. I went crazy. So anyway, these are the blocks from the fat quarter shop, or the fat quarter bundle that I purchased. And they're kind of giving me feed sack vibes, but with a modern twist, which I liked. And I, for some reason, love this color palette because I hate orange. I hate it. But when it's paired with purple and teal, I don't know, something. I have so many quilts with orange in it, but it has to have a purple and a teal, like cool tones with it. Anyway, so I loved this color palette, and these kind of feed sack, and like this is the kind of gives me watercolor vibes. I don't know. And then because, you know, there wasn't enough purple, I mean, there's magenta purple. There wasn't, I like the bluer side of purple. You know, because I didn't have enough blocks of the with the fat quarter bundle, I added 3 colors, 2 of a more, like this is a blue purple that's kind of in the same vein here, and then this is a purple that I just had to put in, which is more of a gray purple. And then because I love polka dots and the background wasn't enough polka dot, I added a black and white polka dot because reasons. Anyway, so I have 1,000 of these, and you know, they're beautiful, and I just need to finish it. And I'm avoiding making and I also added, because some of these prints were really pretty, because some of the watercolor prints were really pretty, I added a block as well. If I can find one in this, I added a square and a square block to kind of showcase the fussy cut prints as well. So not only did I add 3 colors and did more blocks than qualify, like that were in the original pattern, I also added a block. And I'm thinking about putting it on point because I like the way on point looks more than. So that's why this has just been kind of in timeout, because it's still a bunch of work, even though most of it is done. Anyway, so that is my first whip that I'm going to be considering finishing. My next whip, I believe, is my oldest whip. It is I think it's a quilt in a day. I'll link the video that I saw this. I think it's a quilt in a day pattern, and it was inspired by this pillow. I used to needlepoint quite a bit with my Aunt Susie. That's why we got so close. I did it for 7 or 8 years with her. We would go once a month up north of us and go to a club and spend the day, have lunch, meet up with friends, and needlepoint. And this was a pattern to like teach you how to do different kind of decorative stitches. And what you did to get the color placement was do a Sudoku, or Sudoku, however you say it. And I had found this fabric at Joann and really liked the color palette, even though I'm not a big fan of this like army green, but I liked the color palette, and so I picked colors to match that fabric so that when I was finished I could make it into a pillow with that fabric. Anyway, so I finished this years and years ago, probably 10 years ago or more. It's probably more like 15 years ago, because Susie's been dead for 5. Yeah. Anyway, 5 or 6. Oh my gosh, it's going to be 6 this year. Anyway, so as you can see, there's a light green here, dark purple here, medium purple. And so I'm copying the order of the Sudoku so that when I finish this, I'll put it on my bed, and this will be the accent pillow, and this will be the quilt that goes with it. And what I did was I only picked 9 colors, but I just, whichever color was the the color it was supposed to be, I made the big part of the block. So this is the dark purple, so the dark purple is the main color in this. This is the medium purple, so the medium purple is the background color in this. And I'm also not doing it the way I'm not doing it the way the pattern says I should. I'm making squares instead of stars. Like this right here is the block. And instead of making each block, like laying out all the pieces of the block here and making each block to match this, I couldn't do that. No, that would be too easy. I'm putting the squares together and then sashing them and making it more difficult on me. But I like it this way, and I've got quite a bit of it done, you know, so I've got all the pieces made, so now I'm just assembling. So now I just need to assemble it and get it done. And I love it. I think it's going to be a beautiful quilt. But, you know, it is what it is. It's not. The other thing is, I started out originally with this as the sashing, and I didn't have enough of it. So then I bought this, which is a similar shade, but bigger dot. And then I'm like, well, I can't just put that when I run out. I have to make it look intentional, kind of scrappy. But I don't really like this bigger dot. So now I also bought this fabric, which is not quite the same white, but it's got a teeny tiny dot on it. So I'm going to add that in to make it. Or I've got, oops, that is not this quilt. Anyway, I've got this dot. Oh, that's the medium. So it's just a pain in the butt. But I love this quilt. And to be honest, I've been thinking about it for years. So I probably should finish it. I'd love to put it on my bed. Anyway. So my next whip is one I got from like the 100 blocks books that you could buy at Joann Fabric at one point. And I was learning to free motion quilt. No, correction. I was watching free motion quilting. Angela Walters, shout out to her. I was watching free motion quilting, and I thought that this quilt would be a good one to practice on if I decided to learn. And I did decide to learn because I bought a long arm because I'm crazy. And so I was in one of the local shops, Quilts Plus, I think is what it was called, at its old location in Nora. And I saw this fabric, and the lady had these paired with it, and this is only half the quilts right now because there is orangey peachy color and green as well, and yellow. I guess I could have given you what I'm making the border out of to show you. Anyway, and I also have this ombre cream colored fabric, that I've been fussy cutting, because as you can see on this side it's dark and on that side it's light. I've been fussy cutting it so that the ombre shows. And it's curved piecing. I mean, it's a drunker's path, but you know, smaller or less curve. And I like it. I'm super excited for the free motion quilting designs that I picked out, and I will insert a picture here if I can find the diagram I made. You know, so like I want to finish this, and I think it would be a great wall hanging for a quilting business when I start up my quilting business. And I was thinking about making it bigger to be a bed quilt, but now I'm thinking I should just make it a wall hanging. So that would cut down on the amount of piecing I would have to do. And so I'm making the border out of the pieced strips here, which has been fun. And my piecing's not perfect. This is an old whip. This is probably 6-7 years old, and it's probably 8 years old, honestly, because I started it before I bought my house. And I did like the opposite. I did the opposite ombre to kind of give it some visual interest. And I like a piano key border, but I didn't want to just chop off this curved. So anyway, that's why I did that. I should finish this. It's beautiful. I need like a project to show some free motion quilting. I should just finish this. And I thought about making it bigger, but I don't think I am. And then I bought this kind of for the binding. It's not quite a match, but it's close enough. Like the orange is too orange and the yellow is too pale. And surprisingly, there's no purple in it. And this is black instead of blue, but I think it'll look nice as the binding. And if you don't, you can just. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on this side, put the warmer colors. So I did the teal up here and the blue and the magenta. Those are the cooler colors. Oh, the magenta's warmer, but it's on the cooler side of warm. And then I'm going to do green, yellow, and then the orangey color on the bottom here, and then do another row of the piano key curved border. And that should be fun. The only problem I could see is I don't have a whole lot of this background fabric anymore. It is the Timeless Treasure fabric, Ombre C 4700. If you have any of this, contact me on Instagram, cheekymare.stitches, and I may purchase it from you, just so I have enough to finish this quilt up. And I really like this quilt. I think it'll be a beautiful wall hanging. I love a good rainbow. But it is in timeout because the curved piecing, and I couldn't decide whether I was going to make it bigger and look, I even cut some pieces to make it bigger because, I'm a glutton for punishment. But we'll see. We'll see. This is my next whip. This is my first attempt at making my own pattern. It's basically, I had 2 charm packs and I wanted to get a bed-size quilt out of the 2 charm packs. So I knew how many 2.5-inch squares that I could get out of it. And I just made, and it'll be a medallion quilt. And it's basically made up of 3 different squares. There's this one that just has the 1 charm. There's one that has 2, and then there's one that has 4. And if I have a picture of the finished layout, I'll show it here. But basically, there's a lot of negative space in the background, because to make it a full-size quilt or full-size bed quilt, I needed a lot of background. Well, if you recognize this fabric is the background fabric that I used for the Make-A-Wish quilt, and I don't have it anymore. I don't have any more of it, so I would have to just put all of the blocks together and then be satisfied with the size it was, or find a fabric for the background that I like that would go with it and make it look intentional. So that's why this one is in timeout, because I bought a whole bolt of this white and gray dot, but I didn't realize that the Make-A-Wish quilt was going to use as much of it as it did. So I am stuck. But I also need to find the CAD file that I drew it up on, which is on a junk drive somewhere. I should find it. But you know, that's the dilemma. But this is my first pattern that I've ever drafted. And when I say drafted, I mean just drew out and knew like how I needed so many of this block and so many of this block and so many of the 2 blocks. I guess there's actually 4 different types of blocks, because this one is just 3 with a corner. Anyway, so it's not like a pattern that, if I get it done and I like it, I may actually write it up as a pattern to, I don't know, give away to members or something. Because I'm so close to 500 subscribers that soon I can have memberships. And I've got 5 or 6 patterns kind of waiting in the wings that I've drafted that I could put out for members and kind of do, instead of just writing out my own pattern and trying to publish it, like have a instructional video that you could watch instead of reading the pattern. I don't know. We'll see what I think about writing this out as a pattern. I do like where I am. Most of the blocks are made, I just have to assemble it, and assembling it was where I got stuck. And I also don't have enough fabric, because each one of these has sashing around, so I don't have enough of this dot fabric for the sashing. So I would either, and God help me, I would either have to rip out the sashing that I've already done and put a different sashing in, or find a fabric that is close enough to this that when you stand back, it wouldn't bother me. I am debating whether I'm calling this next one a whip or not. I mean, it is a whip, but I'm debating. It was originally a block of the month, or a build-a-quilt from Angela Walters. And these are the pieces that I did for that. But I didn't like how, and I added the purple because of course I did, but I didn't like how bright this yellow was. So I was trying to soften it with the purple, and it just was not looking pretty in my opinion. I love the fabrics, but I wasn't happy with the way it was going. So, because like I have 108 inches of this fabric as for backing. So I want to do something with it at some point. But I don't like the Build-A-Quilt blocks that have come out of it. And I even like tried doing miniature blocks, like I scaled them down to see if I liked them better smaller, and I did like them smaller, but these are a pain in the butt, so I only made a couple of these, and I'll do something with them eventually. I may put them on the back, but anyway, I love this quilt, this fabric, and I know how Angela got the fabric she pulled for the Build-A-Quilt. Like, there are all those colors in it, in this fabric. It just wasn't working for me. And then I saw a quilt in the background of one of the YouTubers that I watch and absolutely fell in love with it. And I contacted her to ask what the pattern was, and she didn't know. So I just drafted one, and I will insert a picture here of a picture of the draft that I made. So it's not exactly the same pattern, but it is close enough. And I think it'll give the same look. But it's going to require about 10,000, not exactly 10,000, but it feels like 10,000 half square triangles in different assortment of colors. And I'm using mostly the Build-A-Quilt fabric. And it's a beautiful quilt. So this is the second pattern that I've drafted myself. And it's, even though it is a mimic of someone else's pattern, I don't feel bad about it because it's not exactly the same. So I probably won't give this one away for my members, but I don't feel bad about drafting it because it's not exactly the same. It's modified. But I also realized that I was going to need a bunch more variety in the. Basically, what I needed was a scrappy quilt but I don't really like scrappy. I like controlled scrappy. So I pulled a bunch of fabrics from my stash to add to it, but I'm not sure that I'm going to like them all together. I don't know. Dilemmas. Like this is a fat quarter bundle that I wasn't sure about at all. I don't really like the way they look, but it's got similar themes to, except for the animals. The animals are a bit weird, but it'll be really small because they're 2.5 inch half square triangles. And y'all know how much I hate half square triangles. But I love the look of them. So a lot of my patterns have a bunch of half square triangles in them, you know, and I have some word fabric and I have a bunch of background fabric for it. So it's just going to be a huge undertaking. Here's one of the starts of, it's wrinkly. I didn't iron it, sorry. But here's one of the fabric, or one of the squares for the quilt that I'm designing, the pattern that I designed. Mimicked. So dilemma. That's why it's in timeout, because I'm going to have to make 10,000 half square triangles. My next whip is a foundation paper piece quilt, and it is called the Russell quilt. It kind of looks like an old man, like, forgive the reference, but a Bill Cosby sweater. You know, and here is the coloring page. Anyway, I was in a quilt store. Let's see, when did she? I was in a quilt store probably 4 years ago. And when my dog, Anya, my boxer, Anya, was diagnosed with a really bad cancer. It's the cancer of the blood vessels itself. Not the blood, but the blood vessels. And she was basically given 6 months to live. And it turned, because she was older, so I didn't want to do chemo, because my roommate in college had done chemo on his like 11-year-old lab, and the lab did not understand what was going on, and basically the chemo killed the dog, and it was painful. Anyway, if Anya had been a puppy, I would have probably gone through with it, but she was 9, almost 10 when she was diagnosed, and boxers live to be 10 to 12. And so when she was diagnosed, she was given 6 months to live, and I was in a quilt store kind of broken up about it, and so retail therapy, and I saw this fabric here. Anya was a brindle, and so this kind of speckled black and brown gave me that vibes. And she was named after a video game character, and the video game character's colors were teal and like light blue, and so her collar was this color. And so maybe it was just because I was feeling down, I'm like, I have to buy this fabric. And so this quilt is going to be a wall hanging about this size. It's 4 blocks long, this size, and it's going to look very similar to her. So I'm doing 1 row of mostly teal fabrics here to represent her collar, And then the next few rows I'm going to do in a brindle colorway. And then instead of putting the border up here, I'm going to put the border down the side and either applique or free motion quilt her name, Anya, on the side. And so that'll be a wall hanging. I guess I'm doing this size here because I only did 4. No, I'm doing the baby size. Anyway. So this one right here is the collar, and then the rest of it will be the brindle, kind of as a memorial for my beloved dog. Anyway, so that's, but I hate foundation paper piecing. I love this, I love the way this pattern looks, but I hate foundation paper piecing. And that will be a theme because I have so many, I have what, 3 or 4 quilts that are foundation paper piecing right now, and I despise all of them. I know that I will love the look of it when it's done, but I despise them while I'm making them. So that's why this one's in timeout a little bit. Alright, not only do I have those plastic, like kind of Rubbermaid boxes for my whips, I also have an antique card catalog or apothecary cabinet that my Aunt Susie had. And, you know, that's where some of my smaller whips go. And I took a trip a couple years back, maybe 3 years now, to Shipshewana for the quilt festival there. Shipshewana is in northern Indiana, where a lot of Amish communities are, and they have quite a bit of, they have several quilt shops there. And I saw this quilt there that was being sold for like $1,000, and I really liked it, and I was tempted to buy it, but then I'm like, no, I don't want to spend that much money on a quilt that I could just make. So I took a picture of it and did some Googling and found the pattern. And it's like a 1980s pattern called Rondelay, and I will put a picture of it here. And I have, because I can't find my pattern, but I know I have it. And I found it being sold on eBay, so I bought one for like 20 bucks. No, the pattern I bought was $80. It was $80, but that's okay. Anyway, so, and it's basically a medallion quilt that kind of looks like a Judy Niemeyer, but it's an 80s quilt. And you don't buy the papers for it, you can make papers. Anyway, it's a modified log cabin, and this is the fabric I bought at Shipshewana. And then I went to my local fabric store and bought a bunch of fabrics to match the floral. And it's so pretty. It is really so pretty. And then this log cabin part right here is actually a really dark blue. It is not a black. And I really like the idea, and this would be the middle, and there would be a great place to put like a medallion quilting in it, which would be really cool. I love it. I think it's going to be a really pretty quilt. But am I doing it? No, I'm not doing it. So, and like I've got, I think this is like a 12th. It might be a 10th of the pattern finished. And it's a little time consuming because these they're curved log cabins, or courthouse steps technically. And it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it's, you know, it's cool. I like it. Itty bitty pieces. I don't know. I thought it kind of would look a little bit like a supernova, except with flowers at the back because of the way I did my colors. My next whip, I started before I moved into my house, so it's probably 7 years old. But I saw it, and here is the cover sheet. It's a Lone Star, but not really. I saw Angela Walters, who's my favorite long armor, and I just went to her 4-day quilting retreat like last week, I guess. And I loved it. And I saw her doing this pattern, and it was sold as a kit back when it was Craftsy or Blueprint. It was Blueprint. And I really liked it. But I hated that it was off-center. So, of course, I decided that I was going to modify the quilt pattern, because who does a pattern exactly how it's written? Nobody, or at least not me. And so I have a bunch of pieces started. And I also didn't like this like medium green, so I added a purple, because purple's better than green, in my opinion. So I have a bunch of these started, and this whip is so big that it has 2 of these. So I just brought in a few of the pieces that I've got started. I've got more than this started. Hold on, I may go get it so you can see exactly where I am in the process. So there's the center. Doesn't that purple look so good? It does. And then I've got a bunch of pieces. Now, this is back when I wasn't a great piecer. And as you can see, none of my points match, really. But that's okay, because it'll look good when it's all put together anyway. But because I don't like the off-centeredness, I had to modify the pattern and make more pieces, which meant that I may not have enough fabric because it was a kit. So that is why this particular quilt is in timeout, because I may not have enough fabric. And that would be sad. But it's a beautiful quilt, and it will be once it's done. It'll be great for experimenting with different free motion quilting. My next whip is Tahoe by Laundry Basket Quilts. Gorgeous pattern. And it has a lot of fabric. I overbuy because, I'd rather have too much than not enough. But also, that means I have to store it, which is a pain in the butt. And I've got a bunch of pieces done. My colorway is sunset inspired. So it's magentas and sunset orange. And this is a light purple, you can't really tell. Pinks, yellows, more sunset oranges, and then a few purples as we get into the more dark sky, and then the best purple ever. And I would love to buy more of it, but for some reason it is nowhere to be found. And it is the Northcott Mountain Vista 23-24-5. If any of you have this fabric, please contact me. I will buy it from you, because this is my favorite color purple. It's got the right amount of red, it's got the right amount of blue. I love the texture in it because it actually has a bunch of it has 13 colors in it, some of which are teal, which I love, some of it which are magenta. I mean, it's perfect. It is the perfect fabric. If I had all the money in the world, I would scour the earth and find every last yard of this fabric. I would use it in all my quilts because it is the perfect fabric. It's soft, it's luxurious, it's a beautiful purple. Anyway, have I said enough about that purple? So I've made several quilts that have this color in it. And I bought a crap ton of it when I first found it because I'm very picky about the purples that I like, because it's my favorite color. So I have a bunch of these blocks made, and I think it will be a beautiful quilt when it's done. They're not all square, they're not perfectly pieced, I don't care. I'm a long arm quilter, I'll be able to quilt it out. So, but it's just gorgeous. It will be beautiful, and I don't know why I put it in timeout, but I did. So there you go. This is, so This is a double Irish chain with my favorite purple fabric as the background. And if you don't understand why it is my favorite purple fabric, then you and I can't be friends. I'm sorry. This is just beautiful. The top has been considered done for several years now, but it fits my double bed currently. And I kind of want, if I ever get married, which I hope I do, if you know any single men, let me know. If I ever get married, I'd kind of like to have this as an option for my master bedroom. And I'm pretty sure that no man is going to want to share a double bed with me. I kick a little bit, so it's going to have to be at least a queen. So I found more of, this was originally the scrappiness was originally a layer cake. And I found more of it in a fat quarter bundle. So I was going to add a piano key border around it. Part of the reason why I'd like to buy more of this Northcott purple fabric, because I'd like to have the piano key have this fabric in it, but I can't find any more of it. And I had, like, honestly, I have a lot of it still, but because I'm using it in the Tahoe quilt, I don't want to use it for the piano keys until I'm done with the Tahoe, to try and to make sure I have enough for the Tahoe, because technically this is done, like the top is done, and there's going to be a lot of places to do some beautiful free motion quilting in the background once I get up the nerve to put it on my long arm. But so this is technically a whip now because I want to add a piano key border. I don't know, should I make it a whip? Should I just go ahead and leave it as a double size? I don't know. My next whip is a laundry basket quilts kit, basically, or at least most of it is a kit. She has her fabrics laser cut, and this is Alaska in the colorway, in a different colorway, and I forget which one it is. I'll put it up here to let you know what the colorway is. But I love it. It's great, but it is not a bed-size quilt. And although I don't need technically another bed-size quilt, this one is pretty enough that someday I might want to have it in a guest bedroom or something. And so I had a bunch of her fabrics still. I bought some fat eighth bundles of her fabric, and I decided I was going to add a border around it to make it bigger. And that's great, except this kit was done. And now I've added basically the same number of blocks that I made in the kit that were pre-cut. So all I had to do was piece them. I am now having to cut and piece out of the fat eighth bundles that I bought, which is fine, but annoying. So I finished the top last January, the original top last January. I really liked it, but I also wanted it to be a little bigger. So that's where this whip is. All right, my next whip is a laundry basket quilts. It was her mystery quilt along at least 3 years ago, if not more. And you were supposed to make like 6 blocks a month or a week. I can't remember exactly. I'll put a link here so you can see it for yourself. And I had purchased these Cafe wovens that are the two-way wovens where the warp is one color and the weft is another color, so it kind of gives this iridescent look, which is gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it here, but I love it. And I had this whole fat quarter bundle, and I knew that she was making a kind of round medallion like quilt, kind of like the Canada one, or the Alaska one that I showed you previously. And, you know, I do a lot of things in memory of my Aunt Susie because we had a lot of fun together and crafted together, and so I just do a lot of things. And I spent a lot of time as a youth with her at her house, and she lived in this like reproduction of authentic log cabin and had a whole bunch of antiques and just really cool stuff. And she had, I have one, hold on, she had a Kaleidoscope. She had some antique kaleidoscopes. This isn't hers. My cousin, her son, took hers, but when she died. But this is one very similar to hers, where you look through here and spin it, and there's a bunch of gemstones. And hers had gemstones on both sides. Mine just has this plastic or glass dyed to give it the illusion. But you would spin it, and it would make pretty designs. So, you know, I love a good rainbow. This had all the colors in the rainbow in it. My former long armor had this fabric that I purchased. And then my Aunt Susie loves flowers. So, what the heck? I'm going to do this in kind of a kaleidoscope fashion. And then my Aunt Susie loves sparkles. And I found this background fabric that would also work. So I think I'm like maybe 2/3 of the way done piecing. Maybe not quite that many, but I've got a bunch of the pieces. And I should just do it. I should finish it and make a medallion quilt. But I have a little bit of, I like the process of buying fabric and starting. I get really excited and then I don't end up finishing it. And then if I don't have enough of this fabric or this fabric, I've pulled some from my stash that I would be comfortable using as like a coordinate. Anyway, so those are that. And the wovens are kind of thin, but I like them. They don't stretch, even though, I mean, it's on the bias, so they stretch a little bit, but so that's that. And I originally bought this as the background because it kind of reminded me of the look of this kaleidoscope, but I think the sparkles are gonna be what I go with. My next whip is a foundation paper pieced whip, the bane of my existence. It is the Bullseye quilt by Becky Goldsmith. Here's what the one I'm doing, except I'm not doing the border. Thank God. Thank God I'm not doing the border. I love this quilt. I think it's beautiful. I thought it looked very similar to a dream catcher. So that is what I was inspired by. So I'm going, when I'm done, I'm going to offset this. Like I'm going to add some to this side here and this side, and add some feathers on the bottom. This is called Skylark. Anyway, so I'm going to add some feathers to the bottom, and then I'm going to free motion quilt some feathers to mimic it. And I've got quite a few of the pieces. I'm doing this in Tulip pink fabric because she's my favorite designer. I've got the next row. I'm doing it in color order for the most part. I am adding, so the purple is going to be the background color. So it will be the dark gray when I'm done. And I wanted it to kind of give like in different rows, kind of a, you can see through it kind of vibes. And so that's why the purple's out of order here, because it's the background and I'm trying to make it look like a dream catcher, more like a dream catcher. And I'm using the Fantasy collection of Tulip Pink, and it's her Pinkerville collection. So it's the one that has all of the fantastic beasts in it. You know, the Nessie and the unicorn. So I thought it was fitting that a dream catcher, because these are the animals of your dreams, right? So, and I'm also using, because it would be really busy if I did it all in Tula's prints, I am adding Tula's, I have a fat quarter bundle of her original true colors. So I'm adding those in when things need to be settled down a little bit. And that's where I got, you know, this fabric and this fabric. So I love it. I think it's great. It is a pain in the ass because all of these little papers, and I haven't been taking too much care of it, very good care of it, because they've all been coming up. It's okay. I'm not a super paranoid piecer, but I should get this done too. But okay, my next whip is an English paper piecing whip. It is very ambitious because they are 1-inch hexies. And it was originally a kit called Hex on the Beach by Tulip. And I will insert a picture here of that. And so I bought the kit. But I loved the look of it, but I liked the look of another hexagon quilt. So I found a picture that I liked, and I will insert a picture of it here. And it reminds me a bunch of like a galaxy. So I thought I would try to make it look more like a galaxy. And here's what I've got so far. And I've decided that I'm not using, well, crap. I'm gonna have to use those. So I found this fabric here with sparkle in it, because sparkle is amazing. Right, I got a bunch of it. So that will act as my space. These are the stars that you can see in the space. And then I'm using mostly polka dots. So the original Hex on the Beach were fussy cut polka dots like this. And I don't really like Tulip Pink's big dots to be used as just regular fabric. I like them as fussy cut dots like this. So, and she just came out with a bunch more of them. The original kit were just these, and then I added them like Moon Glow or these because this is going to be a big quilt and I'm going to need a bunch of dots. And then I've added this black and white dot as the spiral arms of the galaxy as well. So this is an ongoing English paper piecing kit. It's kind of been on hold because I had other English paper piecing projects that I wanted to get done. I'm doing a pillow sham that's almost done, like within probably a couple of days worth of being done. I'm not even going to show it on my whip parade. Maybe I will. But so I didn't want to. I have 3 technically English paper piece projects going right now. And I didn't want any more, so I have to finish one to be able to start another one. And there is one that I want to start. So this one is on the list, but this one's going to be a long-term one because these pieces are tiny, and I am making more than a wall hanging of it. So my next whip is the original English paper pieced Queen of Diamonds. So I have the kit, the block of the month gave you enough fabric to make multiples. I mean, I just did the 100 days, 100 blocks challenge. All of those, or most of those scraps, were from this block of the month. I supplemented it with a few of them, but not really, honestly. And I still have enough fabric to do at least 2 more quilts with it. And I made a machine pieced version for church last year, and I'll insert a picture if I can find it of that quilt here. For a raffle, and I have all of the original blocks done, and I made mine a little different. Some, like, I substitute fabrics occasionally. I have them all done, and I've started putting the machine pieced sashing on it. I wanted the quilt to read more purple, so, and I thought it kind of looked like a stained glass window, so this is trying to mimic the lead and the mullions of a stained glass window. But I also made it bigger because of course I did. And some of the pieces, like some of the prescribed blocks, like this block here, was originally a half block. They would be the side setting triangles. Well, because I wanted to make it bigger and I made a bunch of them whole pieces instead of half pieces, I had to do more side setting triangles. So I am doing the fairy dust background with color order Tulip pink solids around the center. And I'm English paper piecing these. So hold on, let me get a piece. So my friend has a Cricut cutter, and I can draw stuff in CAD. So what I did was I drew up a whole diamond in my CAD software, as well as the bevels that I wanted in my CAD software, and then had my friend who has a Cricut cut those out for me. So I've been English paper piecing the side setting triangles, either using this half, like this, to get the bottom side setting triangles, like this one here, or doing it like this, and doing this half. And they're pretty easy to English paper piece. Like, it's a quick thing, but I don't know, I've had other things I want to do. And then I also want to do the machine piece tutorials for this pattern for you guys. So I don't know, it's just been sitting in my bedroom in a box, ready to do. I have all the fabric for. I just need to lay it out and do it. My next whip is pretty much done. This is a flimsy for my cousin who got married in August, his wedding quilt. And the quilt top is done. And you need, like, I showed you some of my quilting of the backing, or my piecing of the back. And it is a modified, of course it is, because I modify everything. It is a modified pattern for the Secret Garden quilt by that Missouri Star Quilt Company did a tutorial on. I originally started out doing it exactly like the pattern said, but in the middle here with these first two squares here. But I just thought it was kind of, I don't know, washing out the green that I chose that matches really well with one of the fabrics, one of the colors in the main fabric. It was kind of washing it out, and so I wanted to give it a little bit of punch. So I added two types of square within a square, the one on point and then the one not on point. And then in the border, I ran out of fabric and I wanted to make it bigger. Oops. I ran out of the blue fabric, so I did a row, the border of the green as the background, or like the dark teal as the background. And then I had a bunch of these squares cut already for a quilt that I originally was going to do for their quilt, their wedding quilt, but I didn't like the pattern and I made a cutting error and blah, blah, blah. So I decided to change it, and I did 2 different types. So this one's a on point square within a square that's not on point, and then this one is a on point square within a square that is on point, to try and do some visual interest. Like you can see the contrast there. And I made a cutting error here as well. This square wasn't as big as it needed to be, so I just added the same color sashing, and it looks intentional, and if anyone asks, it was intentional. So just because you make a cutting error doesn't mean you can't still use it. And and then I had made other ones similar to that, but it's a different cutting error. So anyway, the top is done. I just need to finish the back and get it to my long armor. Well, obviously I need to iron it before I take it to my long armor, because the way I've been storing it hasn't been as wrinkle free as I should have been, because I'm not going to do this particular long arm. It's too big for my long arm, so I'm going to have it sent out. I do have plans to buy a bigger frame for my long arm, because eventually I would like to quilt for customers, but currently I just quilt for myself and friends. Here is my last English paper piecing lip. It's called Neon Lights. It is a Laundry Basket Quilts pre-cut pattern kit, and I won't recommend this particular kit, honestly, because the seam allowance is a little too small. I like a 3/8 English paper piecing, and then I'm pretty sure the person who designed this kit has never English paper pieced, because first of all, they didn't come with the papers. The kit didn't come with the papers, so I had to use, luckily, the Tulip Pink Door Fabrics Queen of Diamonds. One of the pieces fit this pretty well, so I just reused those. And I can't find the pieces that they had. But these, this fabric up here was not original to the kit. It is a Laundry Basket Quilts fabric, so it goes fairly well. But the side setting pieces were cut in half, and so you either had to do a half, like glue a half piece to get them in there, and they were so tiny, and the seam allowance isn't great, so they were so tiny, it just didn't make sense. So I am going to finish putting this fabric on as the border, cut it in half, and then finish it. It's a pillow sham, so it's not very big. I mean, it's beautiful. I love it, but I would not recommend the pre-cut English paper piecing kits from them. I will recommend their site. It's great, but not the English paper piecing. I'll show you the difference. So here is, I used the template to cut out this fabric that came with the Tulip Pink Queen of Diamonds template. And then here's one of the pre-cut. And see, it's not that much different. It's an 1/8 inch different. But having this amount of seam allowance and having this amount of seam allowance is the difference between, see, like right here. This seam has popped off the template, which isn't its fault, but it's popped off the template. And I still kind of need it, so I have to be gentle when I'm manhandling this. Whereas with the 3/8 inch seam allowance, there's more fabric there, so it holds better. But this is my closest to being finished whip, and it is going to be on my couch as a pillow sham with this as its partner, basically. It'll be on the other pillow. I'm making, so I wanted to free motion quilt both of these when they were both done at the same time, because they will both fit on my long arm. So as soon as I'm done with this one, they will go on my long arm, and I'll be able to make slip covers for my pillows that are on my couch. This is also my travel stitch. So when I go on vacation or whatever, I'll take like one knitting piece and one, I'm not good at knitting, so I'm not going to share those whips, but I'll take one knitting piece and one quilting piece. And this is the kind of thing that I like to take with me when I'm traveling. And it goes in this bag that I made, and it's a little dirty. I need to take everything out and wash it. But it is a rice, it's called a rice bag. And I made it, and when I get to 500 followers, I will be making one and doing a giveaway. But it's perfect. It holds my needle case and any pieces I need, and my thread. And I use 100 weight silk for my English paper piecing, because even if I'm not perfect, the stitches are so small, and I do a similar color, not the exact color, but I do a similar color. The stitches are so small that you can't tell when I've, dug too deep. Like right here is probably the best example, but I'm, zooming in. If you had seen it from a distance, you probably wouldn't even have noticed that my stitches were a little too big. But I love the 100 weight silk. It's pretty strong, and it's fine, so you don't see it as much when I'm English paper piecing. But when I get 100 or 500 subscribers, I will be giving away a bag similar to this, not this exact one. But my last whip, I've got a couple of UFOs that I'm not even considering right now, but my last whip that I'm considering doing still for now is this one. And I'm using a layer cake, and this pattern is mine. A friend of mine asked me to make a tulip quilt, and so I did, and then she ended up using a different one, a different pattern, but that's okay. I don't really mind. But so this is a pattern that I could potentially publish if I wanted to. And I liked I know tulips aren't technically like these colors, but I liked the colors. I've said before that my Aunt Susie was a gardener, and so she liked flowers, and then she also liked muted colors. So I'm doing, and they're all a group. They're in groups for the, to make the contrast. The first triangle, the second triangle, and then the square in the middle to kind of give it the tulip look. And this will be what it looks like when it's complete. So I've got this one too, and this, technically could be a published pattern. I've drawn it up and made into a pattern, and I would just need, an example quilt. This could be an example quilt. I don't know. I've just been, when my friend decided to go with a different pattern for the quilt she was doing, I kind of just gave up on it. But those are my whips. Put in the comments which one you think I should start first. Which one you liked, which one you didn't like. If you have any suggestions on how I could get them from being unstuck in the current position they're in, let me know. Thanks for watching my whip parade. I will eventually finish the backing fabric for the 100 Days 1 Hour Blocks Challenge. So I will start quilting those up so that we can see what those look like being long arm quilted and put those videos out soon as well. Have a good day. Bye.